Welcome to episode 7 of the Dynasty Dreamerz podcast. I'm your host, Joe Galloway. I'm joined as always by Luigi Federico. We are hoping to get Ron Dunn back for our next show. He started a brand new job last night. It's one he's very excited about. Congratulations, buddy. I hope the new gig works out. Collectively, we are the Dynasty Dreamerz. We go to bed thinking about Dynasty. We dream about Dynasty. We wake up thinking about Dynasty. You get the picture. Ladies and gentlemen, we are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts in addition to YouTube. Today's show is all about trades. We are going to discuss as many trades as we have time for that have gone down the past week or so in our leagues.
Before we do that, though, we obviously have to discuss the Panthers and Bears trade from this last week, right?
Yeah, I guess so. So this is going to be a very different explanation of my feelings on this trade than it would have been if we had been live last Friday when the trade went down. As you well know, Luigi, I was pretty disappointed whenever this trade first happened because I didn't understand why we sent DJ Moore in this deal. I was fine with every other aspect of the trade, but the fact that we traded our only pass catcher on this team in the deal whenever we're acquiring a rookie quarterback just was very odd to me. What did you think about that part of
it? So when I read the trade, I saw that it was the 2 firsts, the second, and as I kept reading down the list, I was like, this isn't bad, this isn't bad, this isn't bad. Then I got to DJ Moore, and I'm like, man, that just feels like it was 3 firsts at least and an additional second to move up from the 9 to the 1. And the more I thought about it, I was thinking to myself, I feel like the Panthers could have moved anywhere in the top 4 and gotten a rookie quarterback that they would have been satisfied for. So I feel like the need to move up to 1 and to give up all of that draft capital and the asset in DJ Moore, I didn't feel like it was worth it at the time.
Yeah, when you initially called me with it, you kind of broke the news to me. You actually did break the news to me on Friday afternoon.
I'll set the mood. I call Joe. I say, Joe, oh, my God. Joe goes, what? I haven't seen anything. I said, you guys just traded for the number 1 overall pick. He said, well, what did we give up? And I told him, and Joe was just kind of silent. Shortly after that, another friend of ours called, and he goes, well, Panthers got their quarterback. Joe's still just kind of silent, just kind of trying to figure out why the hell the Panthers did this. I talked to Joe the next day. He had quite a different opinion.
Yeah, I just, the thing that I've been saying in our friend group chat for 5 years, I'm a firm believer in the NFL, not fantasy, not dynasty. Like when you're trying to win in the NFL, I've always said, what have I always said? You know where I'm going with this?
You got to start with your quarterback.
If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a team. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, and being that I've said that for 5 years, and I do believe it, it's not just something I've always said, that got me to the point where I was okay with the fact that DJ Moore was part of this deal. Because, as I said, DJ Moore, as of last week, what did he do? He didn't really matter because we didn't have a quarterback to throw him the football. The defense that we have, that I know that most people probably don't believe this, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think we have a top 10 defense in the league, maybe even a top 5, and that would show if they weren't on the field 40 minutes a game.
Yeah, whenever you start talking about the defense, the number that went into my head was I feel like they're top 10.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the floor. I think they could easily be a top 5 defense statistically if the offense can move the ball enough to keep them off the field for 40 minutes a game, like I said. But, all in all, I don't want to speak for too long on this because I could talk about this for 3 hours and bore the audience to tears. Initially was very disappointed in the move. By the next day, I'm loving it. As long as we hit this pick on this pick, if we take hopefully DJ Stroud, Please, Panthers, C.J. Stroud. Bryce Young is the only other guy to me that would be acceptable. I don't think you trade from 9-1 and give up all those assets for a project quarterback. That's just my opinion. But if we hit on whoever this is, nobody will say boo 3, 4, 5 years down the line about what we gave up to get this guy. It's an all or nothing move. It's Fitterer showing he's got a little bit of a gambler in him, but like I said, if C.J. Stroud becomes, or Bryce Young or whoever, I'm trying to speak it into existence if you couldn't tell. If this guy becomes a top 10, even top 15 quarterback in the NFL, nobody will think we overpaid. Nobody will. Now, if he flops, then of course we way overpaid. But I after the carousel of quarterbacks that we've had over the last 3 to 4 years and all the draft picks that we've spent trying to upgrade that position, it felt like we needed to make a play like this to try to get to where we want to be. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I'm happy we did it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if you need any hope in the future, just kind of take a look at what the Bengals did. I mean, they didn't really have to trade all the assets for the number 1 overall pick and getting Joe Burrow, but I mean, their organization was going nowhere fast, and they selected Joe Burrow, and now they've been to the AFC Championship game for the last 2 years. They were in the Super Bowl, not in 2022, but in 2021. And I'm not claiming that I think C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young is Joe Burrow, but you have to start somewhere, and I think your defense is a lot better than what the Bengals' defense was when they drafted Joe Burrow. So you can only build from here. I know it probably feels like you don't have as many assets now to build from here, but you never know. You never know what you're going to be able to land in the 2nd or 3rd round or the 4th round. You know, you can get a stud in any round, really, truly. You just have to hit on that stud. It's unlikely, but it's highly possible.
Yeah, you know, and where we are behind in some regards, obviously Burrow came in with T. Higgins, and then they drafted early the next year and got Chase, which we're not going to have that option because we don't have our pick.
Right.
But like you said, we're starting off with a great defense, in my opinion, a much improved offensive line from 2 years ago. I think that they're going to be sneaky top 10 offensive line in the league. That's my prediction. I know a lot of people probably think I'm crazy, but
they finished 15th via
right.
PFF, right?
Right. They moved from basically the dead last, pretty close to dead last in the league the year before, to top 15, and they're bringing back the whole unit. So I'm
more chemistry will only help them get better.
Yeah, and Ike Ekwonu seems to be. He could be the best tackle in the league in a year or two. It's possible. So, also, they have been adding free agents like gangbusters this week. Good deals, I think, for the most part. I wasn't super excited about the Hayden Hurst pickup because I thought it was a little expensive. But we talked to Mr. Ian Thomas, and taking a pay cut, so that made it a little bit better pill to swallow there. So, we picked up Miles Sanders, Hurst. We picked up Andy Dalton to back up whoever this number 1 overall pick is going to be. So, really, outside of wide receiver, I think this team's roster is pretty good, in my opinion. Provided that our quarterback that we draft is as good as we obviously think he's going to be. But I'm excited for the future. Like I said, wide receiver, if we can't hit on somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round, could be a bit of a problem for a couple of years. But, you know, sky's the limit going forward. That's my personal opinion.
So what did you guys sign Hayden Hurst to? Do you remember?
I think it was 3 years, $21 million, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was around $7 million a year.
Would you rather have Hayden Hurst 3 years at $21 million or Mike Gesicki at 1 year, $9 million?
I probably would have had Gesicki at 1 year, $9 million, probably, because I don't think Hayden Hurst is that great, if I'm being honest with you.
I think Hayden Hurst is a great blocker.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why they decided to go out and get him, to give added protection to their new number 1 overall quarterback.
Yeah,
as opposed to looking towards a Mike Gesicki, who may be a little bit better of a receiving option, but isn't near the blocker that.
That's true, but I feel like with his name escapes me, with Tommy Tremble, we kind of already had a blocking tight end.
I think Tommy Tremble is going to turn into more of a receiving role than you think. He looked a lot better receiving than Ian Thomas did last year.
Sure, but so did you. I mean, that's not saying a whole lot.
That's why you had to have him take a pay cut. He's not on the field.
Yeah, he's not the best signing we ever made. But why don't we transition into these trades? We're going to try to talk about as many trades as we can. Luigi, we're going to discuss, I think, 5 trades that you made. Yeah, we're going to discuss 5 trades that Luigi made in various leagues to kick it off. And then after we discuss those 5 trades of Luigi's, we are going to take a look at a league that Ron and I are in together, where 4 very interesting trades happened within a matter of a day or two, kind of a quarterback carousel thing. I found it interesting, at least, and we'll see later on if you guys do as well. All right, Luigi, trade number 1 of yours. This was a 12-team Superflex start 10. Team A, Luigi, gave up Alvin Kamara. For Team B, which gave up Christian Watson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Take it away, Luigi. Tell me what you were thinking here, what you like about it, what you don't like about it.
So my team's in a little bit of a rebuild or retool, as I like to say. I felt like I had a ton of depreciating assets. I don't think I have a starting quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, in that league. My quarterbacks were Matt Ryan and somebody else who doesn't really matter at this point. I've been trying to win in that league for the past 3 years, and honestly, whenever I drafted that team, I thought to myself, I don't know how this team can lose. Never made the championship game in that league. So if that just tells you how fantasy is fickle sometimes, that's one of the teams that I think to myself, how did that team never even make the championship?
Yeah.
But with all the news surrounding Alvin Kamara, I felt like I probably wasn't going to win anytime within the next 2 years, as it was 3 years. I felt like it was time to move off of him, and so I put him on the trade block. And within a matter of a couple of hours, I think I got the Christian Watson for CEH. And if I'm being perfectly honest, although CEH doesn't really matter at this point, I probably would have done the trade for Watson and straight up for Kamara.
Well, why wouldn't you or anyone else do that trade?
Right.
Whenever I started with this one, I put this one purposely on the list first because to me, of all the trades we're going to talk about tonight, this is the one where I just don't understand the Alvin Kamara side. Everything you said about Kamara with the possible suspension he's facing, he's getting a year older, he's a running back. Who knows what's going on in New Orleans? They just signed Jamal Williams. And in fairness to the person that made this trade happened before the Jamal Williams signing. But still, to me, why would you make this trade in March? Why would you send a promising young wide receiver for a verging on over the cliff running back who may not even play to start the season? There is no scenario on any of my teams, win now, win later, win now, question mark, win 20 years from now, win tomorrow. There's no team that I wouldn't take the Christian Watson side of this trade. And notice I didn't even add CEH's name. That's just icing on the cake. But there's no team out there, in my opinion, that should have taken the Alvin Kamara side of this trade. So the second trade that Luigi made is a 12-team Superflex Start 10 league as well. Team A, which is Luigi again in this situation, traded Christian Watson. He's popular, right? You like trading for and trading away Christian Watson, don't you?
Well, it's the same league.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So this is going to be even more spicy. So let me get it out there first. Christian Watson for Treylon Burks and Dawson Knox.
So I make the trade. I trade away Alvin Kamara, and I get Christian Watson, CEH. And within 30 minutes, I have somebody messaging me on GroupMe saying, hey, I want Watson. I said, all right, what would you give me? And he basically just said he was going to give me Watson for Burks straight up. So I thought to myself, I don't really see the point of doing that because I feel like they're the same guys, same value. So I was like, no, I'm just going to keep Watson. I would just rather have Watson as opposed to trading away Watson and getting Burks and that not working out for me. So he said, all right, I'll add Knox on top of it. Yeah, I think he has like 2 other starting tight ends. So Knox was probably not going to make it into a starting roster at any point. And so I felt like it was, well, I agree with you that I feel like it was basically a free Dawson Knox. I think he has 2 other starting tight ends for fantasy purposes. So I don't think he was ever going to be using Dawson Knox in his starting lineup. And I felt like at the time I was getting basically a free Dawson Knox value in return because I did feel Watson and Burks were about the same guy. Not only that, though, but I felt like I now have a at least startable tight end in fantasy, whether he's top 10, top 15 guy. It at least gives me some A, value to be able to trade later, or B, some points if I decide that I want to play for now.
So my analysis of this trade is going to be really simple, and it's going to mirror everything that you just said, but I'm going to make it simplest, get it to the most simplistic level. Watson and Burks are essentially the same value to me, and I think to most of us. This is basically free Dawson Knox for the Burks side. And what I find interesting about what you just said, and I didn't realize, is that this guy that was messaging you as soon as you acquired Christian Watson, basically, which makes me wonder, why wasn't he talking to the previous owner? The previous owner would have liked to have had this deal.
Yeah.
Right. It's weird how trades go down. Is this guy somebody that you talked to quite a bit, the guy that reached out for Watson?
No. I hadn't had very, very many communications. Actually, the guy that I traded Kamara to for Watson, I talked to quite a bit. I'm in a couple of leagues with him.
So again, didn't realize that these 2 trades were from the same league, but this basically turned into Alvin Kamara for Treylon Burks, Dawson Knox, and CEH.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good job. Good job. Let's move on to trade number 3, shall we? Now, I have to admit that the first 2 trades were, the special one especially was a little boring because it was so lopsided, in my opinion. The second one wasn't as boring, but it was pretty easy decision there. You know, anytime you get a free mid-level tight end, why not, right? So this one is quite a bit more interesting than the first 2 to me. It's 12-team, start 10, super flex, and I believe you just said off the recording that this is the same league too.
Yeah, same league as the last 2 trades. Yeah.
Which I didn't realize. Team A, which was Luigi, traded Travis Kelce to Team B, who traded Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, Chase Brown, and Tyler Boyd. And obviously, this is a Devy league.
Yeah, this is a Devy league. So the players that they were traded to me were already, I'm going to use the word owned by the Team B in this scenario. I felt like I couldn't pass it up. I was already heading towards a retool type team, like I stated previously. And I was getting Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid, probably the top 2 tight ends in this draft, as well as Chase Brown, who I really feel like he could have some high upside in this league. He feels like he could be one of those almost bell cow guys, which I feel is how the league is headed. I don't feel like there's going to be too many bell cows left in the league come 2023, 2024. But I feel like he could be one of those guys that can handle the rock just a little bit more than the other guy. And he showed that at Illinois. I've been really high on him for the last couple of years. And whenever he was involved in the trade with the 2 top tight ends in the draft, and Tyler Boyd I asked for Tyler Boyd. So the original offer was Mayer, Kincaid, and Brown. I asked for Tyler Boyd. And the guy was like, yeah, I might as well just throw Tyler Boyd in there. I was hoping I could get a little bit something else out of Tyler Boyd, which I haven't been able to so far. So if you listen to this and you're in the league and you like Tyler Boyd, send me an offer for that guy.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the calculator a little bit tonight. The calculator, as I've said before, I think I've said it before on the show, it is not the Bible. It is not the be-all, end-all, and it doesn't determine my values. What it does help me understand is what the consensus is thinking. Because I think if we're all being honest, the calculator is more accurate than our own personal opinions. And that goes for everybody. The calculator, uses whatever advanced metrics they're using. But I think it gives us a closer kind of insight into what our fellow league mates might be thinking. So with the first two trades, you won those pretty decently based on the calculator. And we agree that you won those trades. This one is interesting to me because you got brutalized on the calculator, but I actually think that you got plenty of value for what you're trying to do. So this is one of those cases where I kind of vehemently disagree with the calculator. I think this trade works well for both teams. It's an absolute no-brainer for the Kelce side because I'm assuming he's win now.
Correct.
So you're going to pay this for Travis Kelce, in my opinion, if you're trying to win the chip. I like it for you, too. You got two of the top tight end prospects in this year's draft class. I've seen both of these guys, Kincaid and Mayer, mocked in the first round of the NFL draft numerous times.
Yeah, I've seen them both go top 25. One goes 15, one goes 25.
Yeah, the only other guy in the tight end this year, I have seen the Washington kid from Georgia get mocked in the late first round once or twice. But to me, it seems like these are the two consensus best tight ends. So, Chase Brown and Tyler Boyd, that's not a whole lot of value. I think that obviously the meat of this trade was the two tight ends. If you're heading into a rebuild, would you trade Travis Kelce for two guys who might end up being Kelce light down the road? That's kind of where I see this. I believe that Mayer and Kincaid are probably both going to go in tight. This wasn't tight end premium, was it? That changes things a little bit as far as the draft value of these guys. I think I probably would like this trade even more in a tight end premium league. And obviously the Kelce side would probably like it even more too. But I think Mayer and Kincaid have higher draft value in the tight end premium, obviously.
I think their draft value, where they get drafted, isn't going to show their production. And I think that's what the calculator is currently showing is roughly where their draft projection is in fantasy drafts. Mm-hmm. So maybe when the NFL draft actually gets here and they actually get to the teams, we'll be able to look back at this and see the value of the calculator on my side or the side that I received raise up quite a bit.
Well, sure. And again, that's why I say the calculator is not the be-all, end-all. I think this trade is much closer than what the calculator projects it as. There is a trade you made later on where I tend to agree with calculator, but we'll get into that. Into that later.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right. Trade number 4 for Luigi. This is a 16-team tight end premium start 8. So that's about the equivalent number of starters to a 12-team 10 starter, right?
Yeah. The 12-team start 10 is 120 and the 16-team start 8 is 124.
Yeah. So right there. We rely on Luigi in this group to do the math for us on the spot. Team A, which is Luigi, sent Michael Pittman and the 115 to Team B, who sent Cooper Kupp and Adam Thielen.
So my team took second place last year in this league. I also had a ton of injuries at the end of the year, including like Goddard and Jalen Hurts. So I felt like adding a more reliable wide receiver in Cooper Kupp was just going to help my chances of winning. I also made a different trade in this league that we're not going to talk about because it includes Devy players, but I got better with that trade as well. So I really feel like my win now window is really the next 2 or 3 years. And adding Cooper Kupp, I feel like I'll be better than Michael Pittman in the 115. And I did get Adam Thielen, who isn't a ton, but if one of my other wide receivers goes down, one of my running backs go down, I can slot him in there and hope for 10 to 15 points every game.
Yeah, this is a little more difficult for me because I don't have any 16 teams start eights. The value in a regular league, what I would call a regular league, a 12-10 basically, would be on the Pittman 115 side. But considering you're only starting 8 and maybe depth on your team isn't as important, although there are 16 teams, so I can see why you would do this trade. But I do favor the value side of Pittman, the Pittman 115 side, and I really don't think you would disagree with that, would you?
No. If I wasn't so looking forward to winning this league or trying to win this league again like I did this past year, I probably would not have made that trade, even if there was a second coming back with the Cooper Kupp side. I'm pretty high on Michael Pittman. I probably have him and Kupp super similar in my rankings, but at the end of the day, really Cooper Kupp could be the wide receiver 1, and I don't see Michael Pittman coming anywhere close to that.
So the calculator has you as a slight dog in this trade, I would say. And honestly, because this is a win now move for you, if you make the money in this league, that slight bit of value isn't going to mean anything. And I know that's a kind of like a strategy of yours that you employ. Your value is secondary to you as to making moves to make money right now. Or I see you heading more in that direction this year. I don't know if that has something to do with maybe things that happened in your leagues last year, but definitely doing this podcast with you, I think I've seen that you're very geared towards winning next year in a lot of your leagues.
I feel like in 2022, I had a lot of leagues that I was retooling. And in 2023, I feel like I've been able to so far get the value that helps my teams go in the right direction of winning. Because at the end of the day, we all want to win, and we all want to win the money. And with the value that I've been able to gain so far and across all my leagues, I felt like I haven't been giving away too much in the trade that we're probably about to discuss. I know I probably gave away a lot. But I really, really wanted to head in the win now direction, and with this trade in the direction that I've already been going, and adding Cooper Kupp, I feel like just solidified me as the championship favorite, the number 1 team, the team that won the league last year. He's had quite a few, I'm going to say, retirees and just older players that are depreciating. So I feel like adding Cooper Kupp just jolts me over the top.
Well, we spoiled it twice now earlier in the show. So let's get to Luigi's final trade number 5 of his. And guess what? It's a 101 trade.
It's got to be, right?
I'm going to highlight as many 101 trades over the next few weeks as I can. I find them absolutely fascinating. I saw another one from Dave Pilling, a friend of the show's, that we need to talk about next week. I didn't put it on the list because I was mainly focused on trades in our leagues, but we need to talk about his as well because I think it was interesting. But this one is Team A, the 101, for Team B, and this is Luigi.
I'm trading these assets.
Yes, this is what he sent for the 101. Terry McLaurin, the 108, the 110, and a late 2024 first. So it just says 12 team here. Is this is super flex, obviously?
Yeah, it's a super flex.
No tight end.
No tight end premium.
Start 10, right?
10, yes.
Okay. So standard league with no tight end premium, basically. So defend yourself.
I mean, there's not really a whole lot of defending I can do. I wanted the guy at the time. I think he was still valued at being the 101. And, I mean, he's right there along with Stroud at being the 101. And who knows? I may take Stroud. If it comes to that, I would have traded all these assets for C.J. Stroud instead of Bijan Robinson.
Bullshit.
The likelihood is I'm taking Bijan Robinson. I wanted the guy. I think I've got 2 more early to mid firsts in this league. And my team is I have a plethora of wide receivers in this league.
Real quick, if you traded all this to get C.J. Stroud, you'll be the only guy in the world that paid more than the Panthers to get C.J. Stroud.
I was thinking that whenever you started saying that. I was like, oh, boy, I paid more than the Panthers. But I've got a plethora of wide receivers. I've got a solid starting tight end. The only thing that I'm really lacking right now is that solid running back that pushes you over the top of the other teams in the league. And Bijan Robinson's going to be that guy for me. That's all I can say about it.
So we try to be nice on this show, and we try to encourage each other and pat each other on the back whenever we make a good trade. And we try to be critical whenever the trades aren't so great for the person that made them.
I'm about to be dunked on.
This is going to be one of Mclaurin, who is admittedly is a wide receiver 2.5, wide receiver 3, right? I get that. The 108 and the 110 in a pretty deep first round, I would say, with the way these quarterbacks have come out. I would think we would agree that that's pretty deep. And then we're saying a late 2024 first, and it probably will be a late 2024 first. I haven't seen your whole roster, but I'm assuming you wouldn't make this trade unless you were ready to win. But we know the wheels can always fall off. This could be easily a couple injuries. This could turn from a late to a mid, and God forbid, you have in one of those injury-riddled seasons, we could be looking at the 103 or 104 here. And doing all this, it's funny that you mentioned C.J. Stroud, because I would be much more likely to trade this haul for a quarterback than I would for a running back. Never mind a running back that has never played a down in the National Football League. And yes, I know that we all think he's going to be absolutely fantastic. But you're going to hear me reference this guy on the show a lot. We thought Trent Richardson was going to be absolutely fantastic. So to me, I can't stomach this trade. There's no situation where I could ever trade this many assets to get any running back ever. Just my personal opinion. We've been talking a little bit about the calculator. This calculator trade is almost double in the picks and Terry McLaurin side. And this is one of those situations where maybe it's not quite double, but I think it's probably at least a third off in the direction of the picks. So I think that if Luigi, and he kind of already said this, he's being completely honest. This just came down to, I just want to share Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, because I've traded away all my 101 shares in leagues because I've picked up similar to this value, if not better. Yeah. So I've wanted one share, and I felt like this was the team that I was going to do it with.
I have one share of the 101 this year, and it is on a team that probably should draft Bijan Robinson, if I'm being honest. Probably shouldn't trade the pick, but if I get offered this, guess what?
I'm trading the pick.
I'm trading that pick. Yeah, this is so much value. I mean, this is bordering. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't make this trade. But this is closer to Justin Jefferson value than it is Bijan Robinson value, in my opinion. You add another first or maybe even a couple of seconds, and you're probably talking Justin Jefferson here. And just personally for me, I can't ever put a running back at anywhere close to the top 3 or 4 wide receivers in the league. Do you got anything else to say in your defense before we move on to to some of my trades and some trades from another league?
Oh, well, I hope Bijan Robinson is just a 400-point guy for the next 6 years.
Well, that's the only way that this trade is going to work, okay? Just to be perfectly honest with you. He's going to have to be Barry Sanders on steroids. So let's move away from your trades, Luigi, and let's move to a league that I actually commissioned this league, and Ryan is in this league, and also our good friend of the show, Tyler McPherson, has a team in this league. And the 4 trades we're about to talk about all happened basically it was a chain reaction from Tyler deciding that he wanted quarterbacks. He came to me. Actually, I knew that he wanted quarterbacks, so I tried to shop Justin Fields to him because I know he's a Fields guy. And as we know now, I'm not a Justin Fields guy.
No.
Yeah. I couldn't really get the deal for Justin Fields that I wanted from him, but it got me to thinking maybe somebody else out there will make this trade for Justin Fields, and I can get more of what I want. Tyler put some good offers out there to me, but even though I don't like Justin Fields, I recognize his value. He's a first-round startup guy, and none of the pieces that Tyler was offering or could offer me had any stud players coming back. So I went out and started sending out some more offers to different people to see if I could move Justin Fields and get a stud. And basically that's what we have here with trade number 1.
So trade number 1 is Team A, which is Joe, is trading Justin Fields and John Mechie to Team B, who is trading to Joe, A.J. Brown, and Derek Carr.
Now, this is a 12-team Superflex league, no tight end premium. Should have mentioned that at the beginning. The next 4 trades will all be in this format. I got to be honest with you. I think this trade works well for both teams. It's a fair price for Fields. So if you like Fields, you probably love that side of it. If you don't care for Fields like I don't, you pick up a stud at another position, in my opinion, the second most important position by far in a non-tight end premium league. And you pick up a quarterback that should be very relevant for the next 3 to 4 years. That was my entire thinking here. Wanted to move off of Fields. I didn't really want to move that far down on the quarterback tree to Derek Carr, but there weren't trades out there to get a small downgrade from Fields and maybe add on to it that way. So I had to start targeting wide receivers. And the reason why I know that these trades weren't out there, part of it is I sent some offers myself, but also Tyler and I had been in constant talks about all the offers he'd been sending out and just hadn't got any bites from anyone. So I felt really good to be able to turn Justin Fields into my wide receiver 4 and Derek Carr, who admittedly at the time was still a free agent, but we all pretty much knew he was going to have a decent landing spot, which he ended up having.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was a pretty big lateral move from Fields to Carr, but it's not as big of a lateral move from Fields to A.J. Brown in terms of value.
Right.
So you're not dropping very far in terms of value, but you're also picking up Derek Carr, who, like you said, it's going to be relevant for 2, 3, 4, 5. Who knows how long he's around? He's a pocket passer guy. Those guys can play till they're late 30s, early 40s sometimes. I am admittedly not a Fields guy either. I've actually made trades this year and even towards the end of last year where if I could move Fields and pick up Lamar Jackson plus, I've been doing that. And I feel like there's too much hype surrounding Justin Fields that is making him way more valuable to the Dynasty community than I think he actually is. And now that Ryan's not here today, I can say that freely without getting any backlash.
Well, and I'll play not really devil's advocate, but I can understand this gentleman. His name is Ha Ha, if you're listening. That's his team name in this league. If he likes Justin Fields, then why not do this trade? I mean, if who's someone similar that we like that in this range, Deshaun Watson, right? So if you have Deshaun Watson similarly valued to Fields as a quarterback, and you get an offer sent to you for Watson for your A.J. Brown car, you might consider doing that trade. So I see where his line of thinking was. He obviously likes Justin Fields, so I think this is a good trade for him. I really do. I think it's a good trade for me too, because I accomplished exactly what I was trying to accomplish. But there may be more to this story with Mr. Haha and Justin Fields later on, so stay tuned.
All right, so moving on to trade number 2. Team A is sending Tua Tagovailoa. Team B, the Carolina Panthers, are sending DJ Moore, the 10. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Tyler's team. Is trading DJ Moore, the 108 and the 208 for Tua.
I didn't think about this until you just said that. That's weird. And this trade definitely happened before that trade happened. So this was Tyler after the Fields trade went down. He was still out there trying to find what he could find. And this is what he came up with. To me, this is a very team-dependent trade, in my opinion. The Tua owner has Daniel Jones, Pickett, and Rodgers in that league. So I'm sure he felt like, hey, I can spare Tua to try to win this season. I feel like he got pretty good value here. I also feel like on the flip side that Tyler wanting to acquire a young quarterback as badly as he did, this was probably the best deal he could get done to obtain one. So I think this trade works for both parties. Again, I think the value is a bit on the DJ Moore 108, 208 side, but it's minimal at best. And if you need a quarterback, I think this is a great trade.
Yeah, I'm a lot higher on Tua, I feel like, especially than you are. And I know a lot of that has to do with not necessarily his talent, but with the injury potential. But injury potential and anything really could happen to any player in the league. So I try my best not to factor in injuries too heavily into my values. So like I said, I do have Tua quite a bit higher than you do. And I'm still a little bit on the DJ Moore 108, 208 side. I just feel like that's just a little bit too much. And when I say a little bit, I mean probably like that may be the 208 or less. Just a little bit too much.
So with that being said, you agree with me, being that it's only a little bit too much and you need a quarterback, it's probably –
Go get your quarterback.
Right, go get your quarterback.
Yeah, pay for your quarterback, because there aren't very many teams that I have ever seen that have won money without quarterbacks.
So Tyler and I believe this gentleman's his team name is Clock Terrorist. He won the league last year, actually. It's a good trade by both of y'all. I think your teams did exactly what they needed to do with this deal.
So moving on to trade number 3. Team A in this situation is Joe. Traded Dak Prescott in the 204, which is the 16th overall pick, to Team B, which is Tyler in this situation, for Russell Wilson, Najee Harris, and the 106.
So I'd already made the Justin Fields trade down to A.J. Brown and Derek Carr. And Tyler had made his trade to acquire Tua. He still wanted a second quarterback. And I knew that. But also, probably all of you know from listening to the show, and Luigi, you definitely know this. I'm a guy who likes to have good quarterbacks. I was okay with letting go of Fields because I'm not a Fields believer, but I am a Dak believer. And I actually agonized over this trade for quite a while. This was in my inbox for about 4 hours. It's a trade that Tyler and I constructed together, but I didn't know if I wanted it or not, because even though I think with what you're about to tell us is the value is clearly on my side, and I agree, I got the value of it. And I told Tyler that before we made the trade. I'm like, I'm getting the value here because I really don't want to move from Dak and Justin Fields to Derek Carr and Russell Wilson, which is exactly what I did. Now, I picked up a lot of value in the 2 trades to go with it, of course. But just from a quarterback's position standpoint for this team, I made a huge downgrade on both guys, right? So it took me quite a while, but I finally did accept the trade. And the reason why is that eventually I came to the conclusion that the overall value and the position it would put my team in to compete next year was just too good to pass up on. I certainly didn't want to move from Prescott Fields to Carr Wilson in the process of 2 trades, but that's what I did in this league, for better or for worse. But what it ended up doing is going into this trade non-quarterback, I had Walker and Breece Hall at running back. And I obviously I added Najee Harris to that group. I had Amon-Ra St. Brown and another top 10 guy. I'm trying to remember who it was. Waddle, maybe? I think it was Waddle. I'd have to go look. And then I added A.J. Brown to that group. But I had 3 top 10 wide receivers at the end of the day. I think it's Waddle. I'm not sure. I know it's Amon-Ra. No, it's Amon-Ra and Olave. Sorry. So I have Amon-Ra, Olave, and I added A.J. Brown with these 2 trades to Breece Hall, Walker, and Najee Harris. And then at tight end, I don't really have much, but I do also have the 104, which I had before these trades, and I picked up the 106. So my thinking is that my quarterbacks aren't going to be that big of a deal. At 104, I think I should be able to probably get Jahmyr Gibbs to add to my running back group. I feel like with those 4 guys at running back and 3 of my top 10 wide receivers, not to mention also, I haven't even brought this up, I have Watson and Burks on this team too for some depth and some big-time upside. I'm probably going to try to trade those guys. Also have the 106 to, guess what, probably get one of these 4 quarterbacks to add to Sam Howell and Jordan Love as my QB 3, 4, and 5. So I think that there's enough at the quarterback position to justify these 2 trades. So I'll turn it over to you, Luigi.
Yeah, I feel like when your team is that, I'm going to use the word stupid, in terms of players at their positions, with Hall being my RB2 and Walker being my RB6, I think is where I have him ranked. I have Najee Harris quite a bit higher than a lot of people do. And while I'm not as high on Jahmyr Gibbs as I think the vast majority of the community is, if you take him at 104, he's going to be your RB4. I mean, do you really need him to be that great? You don't need him to be a Bijan Robinson or a Breece Hall.
No.
You need him to be a little bit worse than Najee Harris. If he's a little bit worse than Najee Harris, I think that's taking him at 104 is worth it.
Yeah.
I personally would slam accept this the moment this was sent to my inbox, as much as I love Dak, and I'm a Dak guy as well. I think I value Russell Wilson a little bit higher than a late first or a 2024 first. And I think I pretty much look at this as Prescott for Harris in the 106 and Wilson for the 204. And I just think, I think getting Wilson for the 204 is insane value to me.
Yeah. And obviously if I didn't get this value, I would not have made this trade straight up. And like I said, Tyler knew that. He knew he was going to have to overpay if he wanted Dak. So I still am fidgety about this team just because I'm not used to having middle tier quarterbacks, so to speak. But I do love all the upside of the non-quarterbacks I have on the team, obviously. And I'll say this for Tyler. He had a mission to get 2 young quarterbacks, youngish, with Dak, of course, to get 2 quarterbacks that he, could build his team around for a win later strategy. And he went out and did it. Did he lose some value on both trades? Sure he did. Yeah, sure. But you're going to lose value when you go after top tier quarterbacks, almost always.
When you go after top to really any position, you're going to lose value because
specifically quarterback.
Right, but why? In my opinion, why do you want to trade away your guy for equal value?
Right.
If you have a guy on your team, Justin Jefferson's a great example. You're probably not giving Justin Jefferson up unless you get the moon, and by the moon you need a lot of value.
Yeah,
and so I mean that's just the same way when it comes to, Dak Prescott may not be elite, but he is a QB1, and those are hard to find. Obviously,
there's only 12.
There's only 12 of those guys.
There's only 12 of them. Yeah.
So, but when I say QB1, I mean guys who you can rely on every week to score you 20 plus points a game, and those guys are really hard to come by. That includes wide receivers and running backs and so on and so forth. And they're so hard to trade for, and like you say, they're so hard to trade away.
Yeah. Interestingly, I just noticed this. I've got all the calculator values for all these trades because we've been discussing that a little bit. His trade for Tua and his trade with me for this, he lost almost identical value according to the calculator. What is that, about 20% on each trade?
Yeah, right around 20%.
About 20%. And so that just goes to show you that the first gentleman that he traded with had the same way of approaching this that I did. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to trade Tua, I'm going to have to get my money's worth. So I do like this trade for me. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I also maybe if I was Tyler, I might have tried to press for a little bit more, but I'm not. He actually, no, I wouldn't have, because he knew I wasn't going to give it. This was one of those situations where
Tyler knows you. Tyler knows your values.
Yeah. I wasn't going to come off of Dak as my QB1 for anything less than this. So we'll see how it goes, Tyler. I think it's going to go well for me next year, but in the future, who knows? This trade could catch you up in a matter of a couple of years.
Values change, pretty much month to month. You never really know.
Right.
All right, now moving on to trade number 4 in the last trade of the evening. Team A, Ryan, is trading Josh Allen, to Team B for Justin Fields and Mark Andrews.
So Ryan had known in this league that I was trying to move Justin Fields, and he just did not have any assets that I was interested in. I really wanted to make a trade with Ryan, but all his assets in that league until now, or besides Josh Allen, were depreciating. Good quality guys, the Stephon Diggses and Christian McCaffreys of the world, but all guys who are, moving down on the value tree instead of moving up. And although my team, I feel like, had a chance to win, it was very, very young, as you've heard my roster already. So I just didn't want to move into those older pieces. And I also didn't want to trade up into Josh Allen. I felt like my team to compete needed more pieces than to have to trade Josh Allen and a big piece to move up to Justin Fields and a big piece to move him Josh Allen. So there wasn't a trade between me and Ryan that worked. So as soon as Ryan saw that I had moved Justin Fields to a different team, he was pouncing to try to get Justin Fields for what he originally wanted to do with me, which was he'd been trying to shop him to me for Fields plus for Allen. Like I said, I didn't really want that deal. But who we mentioned earlier, who I made the Fields trade with, decided to move into Josh Allen with Fields. He gave up a lot of assets in the 2 trades he made in these 2 days to move from essentially Derek Carr to Josh Allen, which you're like, whoa, that sounds like he did really, really well, which he did. I firmly believe he did exactly what he wanted to do. But he also sent with Derek Carr, Mark Andrews, and A.J. Brown to get to Josh Allen. But now that I'm saying that out loud, it doesn't seem so bad, really.
No, it's not terrible. I wouldn't do it because I feel like trading those 2 assets takes you out of, I want to say, contention. And me with my wanting to be in contention a lot.
Right.
I probably wouldn't do it. And think Josh Allen's my QB1. You know that.
I should mention that the quarterback one of HaHa's previous to these two trades was, can you guess who it was?
Aaron Rodgers.
No.
Who?
No. Joe Burrow.
Okay.
So he does now have Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, which is a very enviable position. I'm quite jealous of it myself. Now, obviously, the rest of my positional group thwarts his by quite a bit because of these trades he's made. But whenever you put Josh Allen and Joe Burrow up against Derek Carr and Russell Wilson, you got a lot of catching up to do with that gap.
Yeah, with the quarterback.
Yeah, the quarterback gap. Yeah. Yeah, but moving from Allen to Fields isn't a move I could stomach. This coming from Ryan's point of view. It's well documented. You and I aren't Fields guys. So we both personally hate this trade. However, just like I said earlier with the Justin Fields trade that I made with HaHa, I'll say this again. If you are a Justin Fields guy, you have to love this trade. I see why Ryan is happy with it. He was able to get the tight end too. Now, this is a non-tight end premium league, which does matter. But still, he was able to add the tight end too to a quarterback that he legitimately would take at the end of the first round startup draft. So basically, he's moving from in his mind, from like 109, 110. He's moving back from 102, to 109, 110, and he's picking up Mark Andrews in the process. I think that if this was someone like, for you and me, if this was a Deshaun Watson, or maybe even a Kyler Murray, depending on how you feel about him, or like a Lamar Jackson, I think that we would be way more on board with this trade. But because it's Justin Fields, and I don't believe in Justin Fields, I love this for the Josh Allen side. But I understand why Ryan did it, because he loves Justin Fields, and to him, he's getting a value here.
Yeah, and like I've stated previously on this show just a few minutes ago and in previous shows, I have Josh Allen as my quarterback one in fantasy. And like you just stated, we're not as high on Fields as some of the community, most of the community, whatever it is, but especially Ryan. I would have seen this deal offered in my inbox for Josh Allen, and I may not have even countered. I feel like Josh Allen's one of those guys that I just don't want to trade. Yeah. I don't want to trade Josh Allen. Don't want to trade Patrick Mahomes. Don't want to trade Joe Burrow. It's getting to the point where I don't want to trade Jalen Hurts. But those are really the only four guys that I don't want to trade. I would have needed quite a bit more than Fields and Andrews.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider this trade for Josh Allen either. So I did want to bring up or talk for a second about these trades were all made in this league, these four trades in the league is, who cares what the name of the league is? That's a gym name that I came up with about 4 years ago whenever Tyler and I were talking about starting the league, and I eventually took it over for him. But anyways, in early March, how rare is it that you see four trades in the same league in the process of 2 days? I'd say that's pretty rare in itself. But Luigi, as we have talked about these, all four of these trades have involved at least one top 12 quarterback, top 10-ish, top 12-ish quarterback. One trade, the last one we talked about, the Allen for Fields and Mark Andrews, involved two of those top 10-ish, 12-ish quarterbacks. And to me, that's pretty fascinating that, sometimes you don't see guys like that get traded four times in a year in the league. So for it to happen in a couple of days, just a domino effect that started with me and Tyler, honestly, discussing quarterback trades between me and him, and ended up me going somewhere else, and just kind of snowballed from there. And this is what can happen when you're in a league with people that or that you've been in a league. Not necessarily you have to know them in real life like we do, but you know them also from being in a league with them for years. This year's 4 or 5 years old. So even though we don't know HaHa personally, we all kind of know what his trade tendencies are, just as I'm sure that he kind of knows what ours are as well. So this is one of the differences between what I consider to be a good active league and then a run-of-the-mill league where you just don't see a whole lot of action going on. And these four teams two of them very definitely made a definitive statement about who they are next year. My statement is that I'm going to take this good young positional group and I'm going to try to win with it while not getting too terribly old. Tyler definitely decided, hey, I'm tanking. I'm going to get my quarterbacks and the rest of my team is going to be dog duty, and we'll see where my draft pick ends up. Ryan was just trying to, acquire a little bit of what he considered to be value because his team is aging, and he doesn't feel like that he can trade a whole lot of the assets that are declining, like Diggs and McCaffrey and so on and so forth. So he figured he could still stay competitive while, adding some depth / youth to his team with Fields. Like I said, I don't know HaHa personally, but I have to feel like that he is going with the tank for get two of the top three quarterbacks in the league and figure it out from there, even if it takes a couple of years. And, I've done that before, and it's a strategy that I'm very, very comfortable with. And like I said, if I'm envious of any of the teams in this league that were active in these trades, it's him, because that's a great spot to be in with Allen and Burrow. Any closing thoughts from you on any of the trades today, Luigi, before we wrap this up?
No, I think we touched on everything that I would want to talk about.
Okay, well, that'll do it for the 7th episode of the Dynasty Dreamerz podcast. Thank you for joining us. Please leave any comments below. Let us know what you think about these trades. Did we do well? Did we do poorly? Are we absolutely nuts? We hope you join us next time. For my co-hosts Luigi Federico and Ryan Nunn, this has been Joe Galloway signing off.